Hi everyone, welcome to week 3 of your Pharmaceutical Career Planning 1 course. This week we're going to look at Chapter 5. And Chapter 5 kind of piggybacks off of what we did last week with Chapter 3. Chapter 3 was all about long-term care pharmacies, and then Chapter 5 is now going to be talking about some of the roles of both the pharmacist and the pharmacy technician in that long-term care pharmacy setting. So a few things to look at is what has happened over the years with long-term care pharmacy is it's gone away from being just somebody who fills the prescriptions for those patients within the long-term care facility, and instead has gone to looking at total outcomes for these particular patients. So we want to make sure that we're improving the quality of life, etc. So what has happened is that we've instituted what we call a consultant pharmacy practice. So what the consultant pharmacist does is they are there to actually look at that particular population, which in most cases we consider, the aging population, because that is what most long-term care pharmacies are, or long-term care facilities are, is for aging patients, nursing homes, etc. And so we're going to be looking specifically at their medications, the laws regarding their care, all of those types of things. So this particular pharmacist has a specialized set of knowledge that they are able to bring to the table, so to speak, and help ensure and make sure that the patients are being treated properly. They're going to be looking specifically at medication management. That's probably one of their biggest functions within a long-term care facility, because what we want to do is we want to make sure there's not duplicative therapy. They're not being treated with different drugs for the same condition. We want to make sure, again, it's all back to that quality of life. So we want to make sure that the patients are not, being over-medicated. There was a time where you would walk into a nursing home and you saw residents in wheelchairs, and they were literally in a catatonic type of state where they just sat there and nobody knew what was going on, and they were just totally out of it. And a lot of that had to do with the medications that they were on. They were just on way too many medications, and they just existed in those facilities. So what the idea is now is with these medication management is that we're looking at, what's the best choices for these patients so that they can be as fully functional as possible. Along with that, we include these things such as drug distribution, medication storage. In other words, where is it kept within the facility? We want to make sure that no one can get into the medicine that's not supposed to be there. So, believe it or not, some patients are thinking that they can take care of themselves and they want to go get their own medications and things like that. So medication storage, drug distribution systems, all very important. In addition, we want to make sure that they have the right types of emergency medications available to all of the patients. So what happens if we have a patient that, has a particular issue that's immediate? So it's not something that, we can call the doctor and wait around for. So what do we do with that? These are some of the different clinical activities that are going to be performed by the consultant pharmacist. They're going to actually come up with a care plan. So it goes hand in hand with the care plan for them when we talk about their maybe their physical therapy, things like that. The care plan for clinical pharmacy is the same. We're going to make sure that everything is working towards them having the best fulfilling life possible. One thing to make sure to point out here, actually a couple of things. Nutrition monitoring is always important when we're talking about medication management. And the psychotropic drugs is also very important because, again, we go back to that whole idea of in the past there was a lot of drug usage that was not needed, and so therefore those patients were not necessarily able to live life to the fullest. So that's a big focus, is those psychotropic drugs. So as you go through and you look at all the different types of drug regimen reviews and how the pharmacist actually goes in there and creates that pharmacy care plan and how do they determine what's needed and what's not needed? What do we do about other types of facilities like correctional facilities or psychiatric hospitals that are also considered long-term care but are a little bit different than a nursing home type of thing? So as you read through that in the rest of this chapter, please make sure that you reach out to me. Let me know if there's something you have questions about. And as always, have a great week.